The first time Joe realized something was wrong was the day he opened his math test and saw a 34% written in red ink. He felt his stomach tighten, not because he didn't try, but because he did, and somehow everyone else still seemed ahead of him.
This is Beyond Stories, where every story carries a lesson, and every lesson touches the heart. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that could inspire your next step. Now, let's go deeper into the story.
Around him, classmates whispered under their breath, "Bro, Joe failed again. He's always behind. Guy needs to copy next time." That day, Joe almost walked away from school for good, began with a silence so heavy it felt like the air itself refused to move. He stood in the hallway, books clutched to his chest, listening to whispers swirl round him like cold wind. His classmates weren't saying anything new, just the same hurtful comments that had begun to stain his mornings. Joe is too slow. Joe will never catch up. Leave him, he's not like us. Each word felt like a stone thrown at a window, small, but enough to crack something inside him. But Joe didn't always feel this way. He used to wake up before sunrise, sitting by the window as the first rays of light brushed the sky. His mother would gently touch his shoulder and say, "Focus on your own road, Joe. Cars move at different speeds, but the destination doesn't disappear." Still, it was hard to believe her when school felt like a world built against him. In class, Joe sat near the window, the seat no one wanted, where he could watch birds hop on the branches of the big guava tree outside. Those tiny birds seemed freer than he felt, chirping without fear while he struggled to answer questions, struggled to fit in, struggled to be enough. His classmates compared themselves to each other like trophies lined up on a shelf. Who had better shoes? Who had a new phone? Who had more friends? And somehow, Joe always ended up at the bottom of their list, even when no one said it aloud. One afternoon, during a group assignment, the teacher told everyone to form their own groups. Chairs screeched across the floor as students hurried to their friends. Joe waited and waited and waited. No one called his name. He walked home that day with shoulders heavy as rain clouds. The houses along the street seemed to lean toward him, listening as if they already knew his worries. His father sat on the veranda repairing an old radio, and Joe sank beside him quietly. After a long silence, his father said without looking up, "The river never compares itself with the ocean, Joe. It just flows, and eventually it becomes something greater." Joe didn't understand then, but seeds planted in quiet moments have a way of growing when we least expect. The turning point came during a mathematics quiz. Joe failed again, but instead of crying, something inside him finally snapped into place, like a door he never realized he could open. He stayed back after class, not to beg for extra marks, but to ask the teacher how he could improve. That single decision to focus on himself instead of the voices around him became the beginning of a new chapter. He started waking earlier, studying not to impress anyone, but to understand. He stopped trying to fit into circles that never wanted him. He limited the noise around him, the comparisons, the pressure, the expectations, and began listening to his own rhythm. Slowly, his mind became clearer. Calm replaced the storm. Confidence returned, not loud or boastful, but quiet and steady like a heartbeat. His grades improved. His teachers noticed. Some of his classmates tried to come closer, but Joe no longer lived to please them. The same hallway that once felt hostile became simply a path he walked through, not a battlefield he had to survive. At home, his mother smiled more often. His father's advice made sense now. And Joe finally understood what it meant to grow into himself. He learned that focusing on others steals your focus from yourself. He learned that silence can be a teacher. He learned that comparison is a poison, but self-discipline is medicine. He learned that a slow pace is still progress. He learned that his value was never tied to the noise around him. And most importantly, he discovered that when you stop chasing validation, you start discovering your true power. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And don't forget to subscribe for more life-changing stories. This is Beyond Stories, where every story reminds you that as long as you are still breathing, your story is not over yet.